Hey everyone, I've gotten so much interesting feedback on last week's Halloween episode featuring the Anonymous CTO saying spooky things about AI and coding agents that I thought I'd share a quick solo voice memo style episode with you. The feedback ranges from people saying he's spot on about the insidious problems that AI coding agents create, while others saying he's holding it wrong. In other words, he's not using AI properly. Before I share more on the feedbacks, two things. First, I'll be at Web Summit in Lisbon this week, so if you're there, hit me up and let's talk tech in Portugal. And second, I have a quick favor to ask you. Once a year, I ask listeners to help me improve the show by taking an annual survey. Well, it's been a year. And I have big plans for the show and some new things I'm working on, so I really want to hear from you. And for one lucky survey taker, I will make a $100 donation to the charity of your choice. You can find the link to the survey in the show notes or go directly to crafted.fm/survey. Okay, back to the feedback I've been getting. And if you haven't listened to the episode, stop and go do that first so you have the context for what the Anonymous CTO said about coding agents and why he says they're useful, but also can sometimes be more trouble than they're worth. Here's a short note I got from a very senior security expert at one of the biggest tech companies in the world. Quote, complete agreement. I go very slightly further than your CTO, but only very slightly. They're dead on, and I wish it were safe for more people to publicly say so. Actually producing code is the least of what I do. But most people I heard from took the opposite view, saying coding agents are really useful and getting better. Here's what one senior engineering leader texted me. Hey Dan, he's wrong, smiley face. Definitely limits to vibe coding and YOLO coding, but the productivity is real and increasing. On the low end, maybe a 30% boost, and for the right use cases, it can be a 5 to 10x. But it's a skill and needs to be done thoughtfully. A saltier version of this comes from a former colleague and a very senior engineer who helps startups and enterprises get the most out of AI. He said, quote, just finished listening, and the only thing I can agree with this person on is that AI won't be taking our jobs right away. I've been using coding agents almost entirely exclusively for writing and reviewing code since April. I barely open an IDE. I'm mostly using them to also build AI. The fact that their first comparison was to autocomplete indicates they don't have a current experience with coding agents. Coding agents aren't omniscient. You have to expose it to your infrastructure for it to understand it, just like you would an engineer. I hate to use the you're holding it wrong argument, but this person's experience is in holding it wrong. They seem to expect it to be able to do more than an engineer and then blame it when it doesn't. You can produce high-quality, fully tested code if you guide it. Does it get things wrong and go down wrong paths? Yes, but show me an engineer that doesn't do that too. Another former colleague weighed in and broadly agreed with this take, but also pointed out that AI companies need to do a much better job of explaining what the agents can and can't do. He says that marketing from Claude and the like, and comments from CEOs like Sam Altman, imply that AI is, quote, magic productivity sauce. I love this phrase. Not a complex tool to learn that takes practice. I asked for an example of this disconnect between what engineers think they can do with AI and what the coding agents actually can do, and he said, the agents in some sense are expected to know things without context provided, given that they're trained to seem like they contain encyclopedic knowledge, and the companies aren't doing much to qualify the caveats at the marketing level. For example, you can ask Claude about, say, Docker Compose, and it'll say correct stuff about that, and then you ask it to do something with that knowledge and expect it not to guess wrong, but it too often will because it isn't a knowledge system, it's a good guess system, and the training data is overloaded with n different versions of Docker Compose with API changes, incorrect Stack Overflow answers, etc. You might also tend to expect it to remember the context of your project and adapt its solution appropriately, but typically you have to do real work to give it enough context at the right level to be able to expect that, even though some of these tools do index your code automatically and do their own investigation when needed, etc., it just doesn't just work. It generally requires active direction and supervision. Meanwhile, a senior product leader took issue with one particular point from the Anonymous CTO. Posting on LinkedIn, he said, as I was listening to the newest Crafted podcast episode, the concept of adversarial AI came up. The interviewee kind of brushed it off, saying it's not really a thing, meaning you can't really use AI to govern/manage other AI because they're all trained on the same things. And another product person chimed in to agree, adding, you absolutely can use AI to manage other AI. It's happening with LLM as judge evals right now. That's how you scale up your evals as a product team. And here's the last one I'll share today. It comes from a senior engineering manager at a big platform that you probably interact with every day. I thought he'd give me some version of the anonymous CTO is doing it wrong argument, but he shared a more nuanced take saying, to be honest, I agree with a lot of what this CTO said. I don't see AGI actually, quote, thinking anytime soon. It's a lot of marketing hype for sure. That said, agentic coding is definitely effective, and if there are changes generated as big as he was talking about, that feels like a misuse of AI more than evidence we can't review everything going in. If a PR is unreviewable by a human, the AI should be tasked with breaking things down. I think the effectiveness of AI coding is also super domain dependent. Client-facing web apps have so much material out there already that these models can pull from and be effective with, while esoteric back-end systems are not going to have that same training background. The key to me that was mentioned in the chat is that it's all about the data. High quality data is going to be what sets apart the best models from the rest, and it's interesting how much of that data we're in some ways giving away for free to the AI companies. Super interesting times though, for sure. And I would say amen to that. I would love to keep hearing from you on all of this. Please keep the feedback coming. DM me or post on LinkedIn and let's discuss. And once again, please give me feedback on Crafted. I've just launched the show's annual survey, and it would really mean a lot if you take 5 minutes to fill it out. It's at crafted.fm/survey. You can also click on the link that I'll put in the show notes. These surveys are actually really important to podcasters and sponsors, so thank you in advance. And for one lucky survey taker, I will give $100 to the charity of their choice. Thank you so much. See you next week. And if you're going to be at Web Summit, let's definitely hang out in Lisbon.